Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York City, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show. And today is Wednesday, so welcome to Walk on Wednesday. Walk on Wednesday is right before we dive in, for about 10 minutes. Before we dive into our Srimad-Bhagavatam class, we invite one of our community members that we think has interesting stuff going on in their life, and give them a little spotlight, pick their brain, hear their story a little bit. Everyone's got a good story, isn't it, Kaustubha?
Sure.
Yeah, especially when it comes to spiritual life. You're like, some people don't. Their journey home is always very interesting. And so Bobby Marchand, she's a full-on yoga teacher, and co-leading trainings in New York City, and living in Brooklyn. And then she's a baby, and then she starts teaching, and she just stumbles into Bhakti. And Bhakti changes your life. Welcome, Bobby.
Thank you. Thanks, Robin. Thanks, Kaustubha. Hi, Mary.
Bobby, a lot of us were yoga teachers, and then they got into Bhakti afterwards. How was that transition for you teaching?
Well, I first sort of stumbled into Bhakti. Actually, Bea, I'm really glad you're on the call today too. It was like a random Saturday night, and a fellow yoga teacher friend of mine said, "Hey, I'm going to go to this thing at the Bhakti Center." Okay. So I went along with my friend B Shakti, and we went like high, up, I think, to like the 5th floor. It seemed like it was like a living room situation at the Bhakti Center, and Raghu was giving a sangha, and it was packed. And what I was really struck by was the warmth in the room, not just like the physical warmth in the room, but the overall warmth of the community. And I was so taken with it. And then I left and was like, oh, that was cool. And then a couple of weeks later, my very dear friend and owner of Prima Yoga, Amanda Harding, said, I want to get Raghunath to do a workshop at Prima. And I was the studio manager at the time. So then I started connecting with, Raghu, and all of a sudden Raghu was in our studio. And then all of a sudden my teacher was right in front of me. And
that's what I'm presenting here. I want you all to come and surrender to me today. And that's
surrender to Raghunath.
Here. Show you the path.
It seemed to just click on in a time where I knew that I was seeking something more. And then very shortly after that, I did a training with Raghu and Kaustubha. And it was very Bhakti focused. And it was a
Bhakti, hit you over the head with the rose program.
Exactly.
100-hour immersion. Remember that, Kaustubha?
I do. That was at the Bhakti Center as well.
That was at the Bhakti Center too.
Yeah. So it that was the quick jump into the pool.
And B Shakti's on the show today too.
Yeah. And but then it really wasn't until a little bit of time later that I started kind of really swimming in the pool, right? Like thrown in.
India helps with that, doesn't it?
Yeah. Then I went a year later. Both Amanda and myself went with Raghu to India, and there is where I really saw how devotion was really a daily thing, and not just a daily thing, like an hour by hour thing, and how it didn't seem so far-fetched as some of the teachings can seem, because we're so removed over in the West from, the way that yoga is presented. And just seeing it in daily practice was so incredible. And being in the temples and being in the rituals and actually feeling them.
Something about public kirtans.
The public kirtans changed my life, like radically.
And then, Bobby started, because she's such an expert teacher as well. She started becoming a guest teacher for our teacher training. So last year, because whenever you get into bhakti, Krishna gives you this incredible romance period where you're just like, everything is perfect. The world is going great. And then,
oh yeah, it was super romantic. Like, it was definitely
like
in
Krishna
that.
courts you.
It was. I was in like my bhakti honeymoon phase.
Mm.
It was really like, this is awesome. I was, having amazing conversations and building incredible friends within the community, and, having, sort of like bhakti text conversations with people, and just friendships became very different through the lens of bhakti. With like the very specific, like, honoring principles set. I noticed that talking about spirituality with very specific people, like my dear friend Tom York, who's also on the call, it became very safe, where I didn't always feel that way. But to have a real common ground with people based upon principles was really
your conversation becomes sort of like in a wholesome container.
Absolutely. And like it like a group of friends that, like, we wouldn't talk about certain things. We'd really steer the conversation spiritually, which was amazing. So that was during like the beautiful honeymoon phase. And as I was quite literally leaving to come to the teacher training at Super Soul,
literally
leaving to go to the Amtrak to take the Hudson. Dun, dun, dun. What the plot twist? What's going to happen? I was diagnosed with breast cancer for a second time, and it was like a beyond fight or flight moment. And there was just no turning back from participating in what I'd signed on for, which was to have the opportunity to work with you again. But I arrived up at the farm, and it was exactly where I was supposed to be, with the people who I was supposed to be with, and the setting I was supposed to be in. And then from there, the honeymoon was over, and like the real life bhakti practices started. And it became like, as anxious as my life instantly became, it also became so clear. And then the anxiety decreased, and to be felt like, or to feel like I was being held in a really powerful bubble, or one of my friends said, like, you are just held in a divine net. Just lean back and be in it. It really, really helped me heal as I was going along.
I've just admired seeing your poise and passing through all the challenges that you've been going through. It's
That
very
means
hard
a
for me
lot.
to imagine being a single mother with a very young child, having breast cancer, taking care of the home, taking care of the child, trying to economically take care of yourself, and at the same time practice, having your spiritual practice. And I when I say admire, I just really mean that we can talk this philosophy, but like you're saying, that in one sense the honeymoon was over, and the totality of the difficulties of this world come to the forefront. And this philosophy of I'm not this body, I am this soul. I'm going to lose my hair. I'm going to have to go through all these different things. Just so many difficult challenges. And I've only seen you just like cheerfully, soberly passing through these challenges. It's a testament to the power of this philosophy and to your own absorption and realization of it. So
that coming from you, that means a lot. Thank you.
I sincerely mean every word.
Thank you. It was very sobering, as you put it, to know that my physical body was going to undergo so many changes and it be painful, and to have my mortality questioned, and the teachings, to really sit with them and have people like yourself, like Raghu, like Damodar Swami, like Radhanath Swami, be like, okay, can you also see the spirit in it? And sometimes I didn't want to. It wasn't like it was like, oh yay, now I get to apply all the lessons in Bhakti. Right.
You
It
just
was
wish
like,
that
oh,
test would
now
just go away.
it would like, now I have to do it.
Right.
Because it's either do it or don't do it. Have lean into the anchoring support of the teachings and apply them, or don't. And what I noticed is that the tumultuous path was, when I let it be padded with bhakti, there wasn't as many bumps and bruises along the way. And like in my mind, I was in India every day. So the mind is so powerful. But the teachings have just really, when you allow them life and allow life to come into them, it's really transformative and potent. And to keep the people who teach the teachings close has been a real blessing. Like getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, regardless of whether it was like now on the other side of this, or like in the middle of chemotherapy, and being like, okay. But it's to have the both of you in my ears every day has been a real blessing. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Bobby G. It's inspirational to hear, and it's again, we don't do this to sell ourselves. We do this to sell the message of the Bhagavatam, which is really just the medicine for the pains of the material world, for the pitfalls, the potholes, the trenches that we're tripping in, and that are set like it's like a minefield. It's like a material minefield, and how to navigate. You're not gonna get rid of all the mines. You're not gonna get rid of all the mines. There's always going to be something that we're going to trip on, and then how are we going to relate to that then? And you're just living that. So thank you for joining us on Walking Wednesday, and thank you for being part of this great community.
And thank you for having me in the community, and
never go away, please.
Looking forward to seeing you in person sometime soon.
Yay!
Yeah.
Me too. I can't wait.
Starts this weekend.
Me too. I know. Yay.
We can all do this together.
Mhm. Thank you.
Mara will ever
Thanks,
get
Bobby.
back here. She's just sort of like, nope, COVID. I'll never see you again. Mara's just gonna walk around. Never gonna see Mara in person again. Keep that computer in front. Talk to the computer, Raghu. All right. Well, all right. Let's dive into where we left off, because we're on a really interesting part of this first canto. I think it's text 17 today. Shall we chant the secret mantras?
Do it.
Rayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tito jayam mudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad-Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should first offer obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service to the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Agyanatamarandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksurun Minatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Love that. I never get sick of saying that. All that is troublesome to the heart. This is what the suffering is in the material world. It's not even tripping and falling down that hole. It's what happens when I trip. It's the meaning I place on all my problems in this world. That's the problems, the trouble to the heart and to the mind. This is the medicine. This makes it go away. This gives you the tools to how to navigate your way through it. And it worked thousands of years ago. It worked before these books were written. It works presently. It worked 100 years ago, and it works today. But 150 years ago, it just wasn't around. Couldn't find it. It was sort of like unmanifest. And now it is. We're fortunate. We're manifest. We can do this. And even now, thank you, dear. After 35 years ago, we couldn't get together like this. You'd have to be living in an ashram together. You couldn't be living up there in Canada, Elizabeth and Daniel. You'd have to be down here with us in the ashram. Roman Ragnar sitting back in Prague in his library. Forget it. Roman, you'd have to be right here. Susan Mason in beautiful Maine. Forget it. Right here, Susan. There is no just sitting in your room, getting a tea. Mara. You'd have to be right here. There's no outside
You got
option.
that, Mara?
You got that, Mara? No outside options. This is how you did. And now we can just be doing our thing here in the Bhagavatam on a regular basis. We forget how good we have it. We forget how good we have it. We got it good. Yeah, we could change it, but we got things pretty good. We're listening to the Bhagavatam every day. All right, Kaustubha, let's dive into this. Let's drink up this Bhagavatam nectar.
All right. You want to get it started?
They use this word a lot. Nectar. You hear this word. Drink the nectar. Do Americans even drink nectar?
Well,
Nectar is. Mara, just curious. What would you say nectar is? If say, hey, let's make a glass of nectar.
I have no idea.
Right? I just say the word so much because I've been doing bhakti for 35 years, and it's a translation of amrita, this nectar.
Nectar is translated as a sugary fluid secreted by plants.
What? Oh, I guess like in beekeeping, the nectar of flowers.
Especially within flowers to encourage pollination by insects and other animals. Is collected by bees to make honey. Okay. But it's also in Greek and Roman mythology, the drink of the gods, a delicious drink, a thick fruit juice.
I wonder where the Greeks and Romans got it from. Always giving credit to the Greek Roman traditions.
But in the coming from the Vedic texts, the word for nectar is amrita, which literally means like immortality.
Yeah.
So there's this, idea of, that there's some drink out there that can grant immortality.
Yeah.
But the term is often used in terms of like reading Bhagavatam, that, like that this is the nectar, because actually it is this that grants, one to overcome death, right? Death is kind of the ultimate material reversal, right? As you get removed from your body at a certain point. And so this can break that chain through hearing this kind of nectar. But it's sweet at the same time.
It's sweet. Sweet to the taste. Mara, who's looking for the Fountain of Youth? Like, who is famous for it? Americo Vespucci? Is that?
Ponce de Leon.
Ponce de Leon.
Ponce de Leon.
Ponce de Leon. What did you learn in that school?
Nothing.
Tony, do you feel she can't retain any of that stuff?
I mean, I did graduate high school like over 20 years ago, Raghu.
That was high school. Okay. Ponce de Leon they were searching all over the world. Did Ponce de Leon think this was India too?
I doubt it.
You doubt it. Okay.
I thought it was the islands. He thought, right?
I thought he ended up in Florida, but I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, there's spring. Like, this is the Fountain of Youth. This is probably what they were looking for. Indians probably said, yes, we have the Fountain of Youth here. You know what I mean? Can you see Indians saying, yes, this is the Fountain of Youth, the Bhagavatam? And everyone's like, what? They didn't realize that this is actually it. You transcend death.
Right.
I mean, come on.
Why don't we get started with it then?
Yeah. Well, I'm just relishing it first.
Okay.
Appreciating it. Where else can you find an ancient religion that believes in UFOs, ghosts, life after death,
And nectar.
welcomes herbal medicines, mystical types of massages, palmistry, and theism, polytheism wrapped in one? Now, this is the narrator speaking, Sutta. Now you may hear from me.
Canto 1.
Canto 1, text,
Chapter?
chapter 16, text 17.
Yeah.
Now you may hear from me of what happened while Maharaja Pariksit was passing his days hearing of the good occupations of his forefathers and being absorbed in thought of them. The personality of Dharma, or religious principles, was wandering about in the form of a bull. So this is his vision, right?
Yeah, again, the Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary was, this was not seen by the people. Pariksit, who meditated with the desire to see this, saw it with his mystic eyes.
And he met the personality in the form of a bull, met the personality of the earth in the form of a cow. So Dharma, the bull met earth in the form of a cow, who appeared to grieve like a mother who had lost her child. She had tears in her eyes, and the beauty of her body was lost. Thus Dharma questioned the earth as follows. Dharma, in the form of a bull, asked, Madam.
Whoa. Let's read a little bit, if you don't mind.
Okay, I was going to get into imitating a bull.
Well, you can still do that.
Raghunath imitation of a bull.
Go for it.
With an English accent, Madam.
Oh, I see. I thought you were going to make snorting noises or something like that.
It's too early for that, Kaustubha.
Okay.
You got to wait till 6 till you get my animal impersonations.
So, yeah, again, so Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that this is something that he saw in meditation, but it's a conversation. He's witnessing the relationship, right, between Dharma and the earth. And he's witnessing that the earth is suffering. And there's going to be another character that plays out in this, and that's going to be the personification of the age of Kali, or quarrel. And so this is the entirety of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary, just 3 sentences. He says, the moment that Kali Yuga had started, so this darker age, the moment that it started, Dharma, the earth, and Kali appeared in this situation. Though this was not seen by the people, Pariksit, who meditated with a desire to see this, saw it with his mystic eyes. And then Dharma, in the form of a bull, asked questions to the cow, who had lost her effulgence. So the earth had lost her luster, or her effulgence. Now, this is what Srila Prabhupada writes in his commentary. He says, the bull is the emblem of the moral principle, or Dharma. And the cow is the representative of the earth. When the bull and the cow are in a joyful mood, it is to be understood that the people of the world are also in a joyful mood. Okay, when we live a dharmic lifestyle, when we don't exploit the earth, but we honor the earth, then people are joyful. That's just a simple, basic principle that Bhagavatam is trying to illustrate for us, right? We lose touch with it, and we just, we exploit the earth to one level, the next level, the next level. We let go of Dharma, on one level, and it just perpetuates. It goes deeper and deeper and deeper. Okay, so he says, the reason is that the bull helps production of the grains in the agricultural field, and the cow delivers milk. So now he's taken it from the metaphorical level to the literal level. The reason is that the bull helps the production of the grains in the agricultural field, and the cow delivers milk, the miracle of aggregate food values. The human society, therefore, maintains these two important animals very carefully so that they can wander everywhere in cheerfulness. But at the present moment in this age of Kali, both the bull and the cow are now being slaughtered and eaten up as foodstuff by a class of men who do not know the brahminical culture. The bull and the cow can be protected for the good of all human society simply by the spreading of the brahminical culture as the topmost perfection of all cultural affairs. So let's spend a little time discussing that, but I'll just wrap up this commentary. By advancement of such culture, the morale of society is properly maintained. And so peace and prosperity are also attained without extraneous effort. When brahminical culture deteriorates, the cow and the bull are mistreated. You could also say Dharma and the earth are mistreated. And the resultant actions are prominent by the following symptoms. And so now the bull is going to begin to list all the symptoms of the age of Kali in the following verses. But Srila Prabhupada is using this term brahminical culture. And so brahminical culture means that there's meant to be people in society that have embraced Dharma very deeply, that have embraced wisdom very deeply, that have embraced a simple life very deeply, a pure life very deeply, that are respected by their qualities and that can help give guidance. That's brahminical culture. And the Bhagavad Gita will define this, right?
Okay, Kaustubha.
Yeah.
Little hot seat, a warm seat.
A warm seat, yes.
Describe the qualities of the brahmana. Let's put that on Mara first. What are the
All
qualities of the brahmana? You know this, Mara?
I don't know.
You missed that in the junior year Bhagavad Gita overview of Indian Hindu literature. Kaustubha, you got that verse?
There's a verse from the Bhagavad Gita, 1842. Samodamas tapasaucham, kshantir arjavam evacha, jnanam vigyanam astikyam, brahmakarma svabhavajam. So svabhavajam means the natural qualities, the qualities that are of their own nature, born of their own nature. And so sama means peacefulness.
Evenness, like the same, like samadhi.
Yeah, even-mindedness, right? Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's hot or cold. It doesn't matter if people are praising me or criticizing me, if I'm successful or unsuccessful, if things are externally pleasant or unpleasant.
Great health or
great health,
problematic
not so great health. Yeah.
A steadiness.
Right. And then Dhamma means self-control. Right. My mind may be saying, hey, wouldn't this be great? Hey, why don't you go out to that? No. I'm not controlled by my mind or my senses. I'm self-controlled, right? Controlled on the level of the soul rather than controlled by the mind or the senses. And then tapa, austerity, right? And you know, that's it. Austerity is an interesting word. You know, generally when we think of austerity, we think of like, you know, especially, you know, things like rising very early and having a controlled diet and things like that. You know, when you think of India and austerities, you think of, you know, those bed of nails and, you know, those kind of, you know, or, you know, standing on one leg or those kind of things. But, you know, I think we can also understand austerity as just simple living, right? That not obsessed with the things in life that are extraneous or not unnecessary. You know, I limit things down to what's necessary. You know, I need a roof to live under. I need clothes, but I don't need 70 pairs of shoes. You know, I need a home to live in, but it doesn't need to be a mansion. You know, I maybe need a car to get around, but it doesn't have to be, you know, a Lamborghini. You know, so austerity can mean that simple living. You know, simple living, high thinking is really what brahminical culture is all about. You have something? Shall I continue, Raghu?
Yeah. Of course, there were kings who did have Lamborghini chariots, of course. And
well, but this is brahminical culture, not kingly culture.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So some people heard about, you know, I don't know how many shoes you have, Mara, and I'm not judging you according to your shoes also. But even if you had thousands of shoes, it's not like, now I can't play the game with these guys. You know, I was doing good up until this one. Just because you have lots of shoes, or you might have, you know, in your career, you make lots of money. It doesn't mean you're not part of Vedic culture, because this was the brahminical culture. The brahminical culture were the heads of the culture. They were like sort of they almost voluntarily wanted to give up these things so they could just concentrate on rightful living. That was their real focus. That was they're really cued into this. They'd voluntarily take vows of poverty, and even the kings would keep them and take care of them just to give them directions. So these were sort of like the heads of society, and how you became the head of society was not by buying up society, but by giving up the things of this world and just living with very, very simple. So you couldn't, in one sense, be purchased by anybody. So all of the doctors, right? They were these brahmanas. All the judges, the you know, the teachers, the astrologers. These were the brahmanas, and you can still find them today. You know, you go to you know, sometimes very, very good, reputable Ayurvedic teachers, and there's like, well, there's no fee. You just give some donation. This is the fee. You just give a donation, whatever you can, and it keeps their sort of objectivity. Wouldn't that be great if you were going to med school and you found out when you graduate that there is no fixed salary? You're just in charge of taking care of people.
You know, it just becomes, I mean, that's just one point, but it's, you know, it becomes so clear that to have an industry, a medical industry that operates on the basis of profiteering, you know, like of, you know, when you have people behind that industry that their first concern is profit.
There's a bottom line.
It screws everything up.
It screws up because you wonder. I can give an example. My older son has type 1 diabetes, and it is such a huge industry. Just the cost of just maintaining life with type 1 diabetes. You get a pump that you wear around all the time, and then you have insulin that you need on a regular basis. So, you know, if you have insurance, they're sending you all this stuff all the time, and you carry this stuff in a backpack, and hundreds of dollars a day, if not a week, thousands a week. I mean, why would you want to cure this? Why would you?
It's a profit margin.
You're getting money from childhood with these people. They are customers forever. Why would you ever want to cure this? So it takes away
Conflict of interest.
it's a problematic conflict of interest here. When we're donating money to cure these things, why cure it? So it's a problem, because part of running any type of business is you care about the shareholders' interests. And
that's just one small example of showing the value of that brahminical culture, like where your doctor was a brahmana and they were just giving you clear, wise instructions about how to live to keep you healthy. And they have no profit, that because they've been, the brahmana was like so into the wisdom, cultivated it and was embodying it so deeply that they were happy living in a very simple, I just have a very simple home. Maybe, in India, it can even be like a hut, and that's all I need. And so when it comes to, my service, we can understand that profit isn't even in it. Whereas like in our culture, profit dominates it, and that goes for how we see how that plays out in politics and how that plays out in so many things. But here, these brahmanas were meant to actually guide the politicians. The politicians had to feel a sense of deep respect and even submission to the wisdom of the brahmana. And therefore, you're not quick to jump into wars, and you're not, how you relate to other nations and all that, is kind of being guided by people that have detachment, because attachment, it clouds our judgment. But people that have wisdom and detachment, they can see things so much more clearly. And so this is all part of brahminical culture.
If you want to be number one in society in America, you have to have the power and the wealth and the property and you can do that in this paradigm. You could have the power and the wealth and the property, etc. But you're number two in society, because that group, that demographic of society is subservient to the brahmanas. Yeah. If you want to be number one, sure, you can be number one. Give up everything.
Right. That very simply now. Yeah.
Very simple. That's the original feudal. That is 8th grade social studies, the feudal system, where it went wrong. Is you had this priestly class that became corrupt. And when the Brahmins become corrupt, all you have is they're money grabbers, power mongers, and they start controlling, and they're leading just with their greed and with their ambition. And so this is why I think Prabhupada's real push was to create a Brahminical class of people again. And wherever we're at, what we're doing is we're infusing the benefit of Brahminical life into our life. And we're trying to, it's also 2020, we're trying to figure out this world. What does that even mean anymore? There is no kings, there's no Vedic culture. We're trying to take these values of Vedic culture, and how does it apply to, Papa Tony's life, Tara Lee's life, Bhakti Matthew's life, Don Cayley's life? What does that mean for me? What does it mean to be learned in the Vedas? And what does it mean to be austere and perform tapas, and to have knowledge, jnana and vijnana, knowledge and realization? What does that practically mean? And so we hear from the brahmanas, from these ancient brahmanas teaching us for millennia, and have it land with us. And we take away, and what it does, it starts to change our choices. And this is what's going on with this daily sadhana of hearing the Bhagavatam.
Okay. Thank you. So let's continue with these qualities, right? Okay. So we had sama, peacefulness, even-mindedness; dhamma, self-control, not controlled by the mind and senses, but I can control myself; tapa, austerity, which we can think of as simple living, saucham, which means purity or cleanliness. The Brahmins are very clean.
They're clean.
Kshanti, tolerance. All right, tolerant. They're not always complaining all the time. They understand this is how the material energy works. Sometimes it's pleasant and sometimes it's unpleasant. And I just can tolerate that unpleasantness with the wisdom I can understand. I can let go of the anger that may come from intolerance, etc. Arjavam, honesty, right? To always speak truthfully, such a beautiful quality. Jnanam means knowledge. I've studied, I understand how this world works. I understand the nature of this material energy. I understand what spirit is. And then Vijnanam, wisdom, meaning that I've not only know this philosophy, but I've deeply imbibed it so much that I see the world through it, and it's changed my qualities, right? So I'm very even-minded. I can see God present in everything. I can understand that there's a divine principle working behind everything. I'm naturally tolerant, and all these other good qualities. That's called Vijnanam, right? Realized knowledge. Astikyam, religiousness. And then it says Brahma Karma Svabhavajam. These are the qualities that are the natural qualities, the essential qualities, the essence of what a Brahmin is. And it's a culture that's been corrupted in India over the course of the centuries, to where rather than it being based on qualities, people began pushing it as if it were based on birth. People began to use it as an opportunity to claim privileges without actually embodying the wisdom and the lifestyle of Brahmana. But within all societies, there are people that play these different roles. And so the idea was, and you mentioned, like Srila Prabhupada's idea was, I need to reach out and I need to present the wisdom of this tradition so that people in the modern age, people in this age of Kali, can understand this, and that some people can rise. It's not that everybody's meant to become a monk and wander off to the forest. It's not meant that everyone's meant to become a particularly austere or particularly renounced, but we do need to be guided by wisdom. And it's not even like a sect, based on like a sectarian thing, but there's spiritual principles and wisdom that are common to all wisdom cultures. And we need to begin to start guiding ourselves according to them. So he was really trying to, through his books, kind of generate a renaissance of brahminical culture, of culture based on wisdom.
Kaustubji, and I think it's important to know, Mohan brings up this point in the chat board. He says, there's a real anti-Brahmin sentiment in Indian media right now, especially in films. It's by dealing with counterfeit for so long, people get so frustrated and say, it's all counterfeit. That must mean there is no real currency. And so let's just throw away currency. The idea isn't to throw it away. The idea is to find what is the real currency? What is the actual currency? And the real currency is that there is a Brahman. There is a way to behave and a way to think, and there is some value behind those rituals and behind those mantras and within that position. But sometimes, even in India, you can get lost in it because it's so wrapped up in these cultural baggage or cultural dogma. So it's really nice to get a fresh view of it and hear of it, how you're explaining it, or else it's just, we feel like, well, yeah, it's a corrupt system and it never had a place. I feel like I understand. I want to go back to my 8th grade social studies teacher and explain, this is how it was supposed to be. It wasn't just random. This is how things were set up. These priests were supposed to be completely renounced. They weren't supposed to be sharing stuff with the kings. They were supposed to be giving up everything and directing the kings. So when you're going to hear, if you get into this a little bit, especially if you're from India, some of you are from India, get ready. You're going to hear the whole thing getting torn down. But there is an original way this is supposed to be done. And the Bhagavatam is going to, it's going to sort of polish it off. It's going to take that musty old thing off the shelf, polish it off, dust it out. And underneath, you're going to find, wow, this is quite beautiful. This actually makes sense. This is real. And I can actually apply this stuff. Not only do I believe that there is a brahminical class, but I think I want to develop some of those qualities myself. I think that would be good. And maybe that's what I actually really am in this world, And I don't think the idea is for all of us to be brahmanas. I know in my life, I'm not one of these people who's going to be, I'm not, me and Kaustubha live two very different versions of how to be devotees in practicing bhakti. And I think within Vaishnavism, I think the bigger sweep, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Kaustubha, the bigger sweep Srila Prabhupada is pushing is that all Vaishnavas are brahmanas, meaning we understand Brahman, we understand the direction, where we're going, who God is, what we are, and we apply these principles to our life. But we are going to have certain proclivities in this world, which is natural. But these bigger, these bigger facets of our spiritual life, that's what we'll start to apply. And all the other, help me out here. I'm hitting a little wall. Stupid. Help me out.
I think what you're saying is that there's a brahmana. All of that Vedic culture, is valuable, but ultimately what it leads to is becoming a Vaishnava. But what there's kind of a reasonableness to all of this, that it's not saying that everyone needs to be spiritual, to practice spirituality. You don't have to be a renounced person living in a hut. There was a king that was living in a palace. He might have even been hankering to someday live in a hut, but he's embracing that lifestyle. And there's a business people. Some people are good at business. You can do that. But then there's also guidance about like how to do that in such a way where your greed doesn't overtake you and your business becomes a service that you do to society. And rather than deepening your greed, you deepen your compassion through doing your business. And so not everyone's meant to become this, walking barefoot, hut living, possessionless kind of person. But we can all be guided by this kind of wisdom, and we can all become Vaishnavas, which means deeply connected directly to God. And these good qualities naturally rise in one that way as well. Is that something like what you're trying to say?
It's perfect.
Okay, thank you.
It's perfect.
You inspired me.
You're perfect. The chat board is actually very, very good today too.
Is it? Was a good chat board going on?
A great chat board. It's got nothing to do with what we're talking about. They're talking about how to make gulab jamuns. No, I'm just joking. No, they're talking about this whole Mohan, Aravind, Nikila. They're all talking about what was it being like. Someone saying, my friend who is from a Sri Vaishnav family has told me there's a lot of classism he was brought up with, not being allowed to eat with different castes and stuff like that. And so there's toxic things, but now there's almost like a shame if you were born into one of these higher castes.
We're just like, our society, it's all of this extreme polarity. It's due to not having good guidance. There's no wise person that can come and say, hey, this was a problem. That's a fact. And swinging the pendulum over here is also a problem. Let's get to the truth and let's try to understand what needs to be emphasized and so on.
In the middle.
Yeah, we're just so weak at that, and it's just, I think people are just seeing it. It's rising in culture. Just like it's we are a lost culture. We read something earlier in the commentary. Let me see if I can pull it up. As I was reading it, it just struck me. When Prabhupada used the word morale, right? Excuse me.
It's okay.
I thought I got cut off. I clicked the wrong thing and my screen disappeared. And because my internet's been weak lately, I thought I was gone. Prabhupada said, I just want to find this word morale. The bull and the cow. The human society, therefore, maintains these two important animals very carefully. They can wander, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, here we go. By advancement of such culture, the morale of society is maintained. Right? Now, what does morale mean? Let's look up morale. Okay. Yeah. But like when a team loses its morale,
right?
It means the confidence, enthusiasm, and discipline of a particular person or group at a particular time. Like we say, the team's lost its morale. It's like there's been fighting, there's been lack of faith now. Nobody has any faith that this is going to work. The whole thing's kind of falling apart. Nobody has that confidence or that optimism that things can be good. And you look at the United States right now, it's just a country that's just losing its morale, you know? And so what Prabhupada is saying is the key is there needs to be brahminical culture. There needs to be some wisdom in all of this, you know? And just our, you know, what we've embraced, you know, even over just the past century of how quickly, you know, we've gone from movies and television and, you know, ultimately into the internet. And by the time we get to like social media and the level of pornography on the internet and all this stuff, we are just, our wisdom is just like so far gone. Our ability to understand truth and to have clear judgment is so far gone. Our ability to get to the essence of a problem and work things out is so far gone that we're just losing all morale, you know, and we're just like really in desperate need for some brahminical influence.
How's your morale, Mara?
She's good. She's hearing Bhagavatam every day.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, she's hearing every day. Yeah, Mara's been listening to this for a while now. Never misses a class. I don't think she's ever missed a class.
That's true.
How does that affect
I didn't think I was allowed to.
How does it affect your mind?
It's amazing.
It is amazing. It's amazing for me.
Yeah.
It's amazing for me. Okay. Where are we at? Where are we at, Kaustubh?
Well, we just read text.
You're
That
on
was text
19.
18. Now we're on 19. Now is your bull imitation.
Dharma, in the form of the bull, asked, "Madam, are you not hale or haughty? Why are you covered with the shadow of grief? It appears by your face that you have become black. Are you suffering some internal disease? Or are you thinking of some relative who is away in a distant place?"
What kind of accent is that? That is very strange.
That wasn't a good British accent. Sounded like he had a monocle on the book.
You know, it's actually, it's a, you know, not that I'm, any case, it's kind of a grave subject, right? Not that we shouldn't have a little fun in life, but this bull is standing on three legs. It's going to become revealed in the next verse, right? That Dharma has been like abused, you know, in the age of Kali, and the earth is sitting there crying. Here it says you're covered by a shadow of grief. And so Dharma is inquiring from the earth, why are you suffering? You know, what is wrong? Is it because I'm standing here on only one leg now? Is it because of this? Is it because of that? And I think tomorrow we'll get into those four legs of Dharma. What are the four legs of Dharma? Which becomes an important topic. But you know, I just find it important that you had a leader like Pariksit, like Maharaj Pariksit, who was very spiritually deep, very much guided by brahminical culture, who went into a type of very deep thought or meditation, and he was trying to understand, why is the earth suffering? You know, what is happening with Dharma? And he's somehow it's revealed to him the essential relationship between Dharma, how we live, and how we treat the earth, and how that affects our morale or our happiness in life. And so that'll that'll play out tomorrow and in this chapter and in the next chapter. And I think with that, you can cue up.
Read that.
There you go.
I'm trying to win my DJ ship back from Mara. Well, thanks for everybody joining us on this makeover. Wait a second. Walk on Wednesday.
There you go.
It's make my brain over, Mara. Thanks for everybody joining us on Walk on Wednesday, and thanks for Bobby Marchand for sharing your beautiful story. Looking forward to seeing you this weekend and for teacher training. And thanks for everybody for joining us. Wisdom of the Sages is a community. What do we call it again?
I don't know.
Community-supported podcast.
Community-supported podcast. thanks for all of your support making this going. It is our full-time gig now, and we really love doing it. If you want to support us, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages. Patreon.com/ it's quite easy. Patreon.com/wisdom of the sages. And then what happens is, tell them, Mara.
They get the secret code.
No, you unlock goodies. You unlock various goodies. And there's all different classes that you can take, and workshops and lectures and workouts. And people come through the computer and offer you Indian sweets. It's incredible. They practically do the yoga for you. And today, is Lauren Baptiste's workshop today?
No, that's next week.
That's
Today
next
we have yin yoga and yoga nidra with Bob Healy at 6:30 a.m.
Yoga nidra, what? Say that again?
Yin and yoga nidra with Bob Healy at 6:30 a.m.
6:30 in just a short time. Bob Healy, yoga nidra master. We love Bob. And then it goes on like this. It goes on like this. Live classes, archive classes. You can be part of that whole party. Patreon.com. Join for whatever you like. And then if you're getting a lot out of it, then you contribute, then you add more. Thanks for everybody being here on a regular basis, giving us this accountability. Thanks for all of the others who listen abroad. We don't know where you are. If you're one of the others out there listening on Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, send us a message right to wisdomofthesages@gmail.com. wisdomofthesages@gmail.com. wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. Thank you. wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. And tell us where you're from. Tell us your story. Tell us why you should be on Walk On Wednesday. Please pick me for Walk On Wednesday. This is my little Walk On Wednesday daughter. She's here with her cat. Who's your cat? Oh, he ran away. Forget it.